Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to start Arc 3. Now this is a long arc. It's one of the longest, I think. Might even be second behind 7. And it's very wordy. I was starting to feel brave with my cutscenes after Arc 2 was received pretty well. And so there's a lot more cutscenes, there's a lot more sequences where there's a few cutscenes in a row. So you had to be really invested in the game's story to enjoy it at this point, which, you know, after a few hours or so, hopefully you were. This was also a bit of a turning point for us. It's like looking back on it, it's kind of like a fork in the road. You see the direction that you went, but there's another direction that you could have gone. And the question at the heart of that is, should the heroes have left Port Arianna? Now, you know, it's not like they leave forever. I mean, they come back a few more times during the rest of the game, but it becomes more of a traditional RPG at this point, because now you're going from place to place and doing different kinds of dungeons, like, you know, the fire dungeon, the ice dungeon, blah blah blah. Actually, I don't know if we have a fire dungeon. We sort of do. But superheroes tend to protect, you know, one area. Like Bruce Wayne in Gotham City. He doesn't, you know, go snooping around in other towns unless he has to for some very specific reason. So it's hard to keep those superhero tropes going once you're traveling like this, and I think some people miss that. I think going towards a more traditional RPG was a bit of a disappointment, and I can understand that, but I think in the long run it was probably best for this particular story that we were getting into. I mean, if we had gone with my original thought, which was a more episodic, more explicitly comic book-esque story about masked characters, I think staying in Port Arianna would have been the best choice, but we're getting into something a bit more large scale now, so the setting has to expand along with everything else. And gameplay wise, I think we would have gotten stuck in a rut if we had been you know, in Port Arianna the whole time. Like, the Ice Temple is in this arc, and that's one of the most popular dungeons in the game, but we couldn't have had that if you know, the game were here the whole time, because it's a tropical climate. So I think it was just a need to keep things fresh, both story-wise, gameplay-wise, that led us in this direction. But, you know, you can't help but wonder what it might have been like if we hadn't. But to recap, Shroud and Stoic just found out that Torto's shop is closed for the time being, and so they don't really have any work to do, which would have made it even harder to keep the story here, because then you wouldn't have had that balance between the work and the superhero life. So that's another thing to consider. And now we have another questioning session with the Teuton Core. In this scene, I don't know, I think I'd shorten it if I did this over, just because it's so similar to the last one with Morius from Arc 2, only this time they're asking them about Sparrow. And after the beating that Shroud got from Sparrow at the last arc, his focus is all Sparrow all the time. He's a bit stunned that somebody could beat him that badly, since he's done pretty well at the hero thing since he began. And this is also kind of, I guess, a little strange if you've played the game and you know the truth about Sparrow, which I won't reveal here just because, you know, there may be somebody who's watching this in lieu of playing it, and in that case I don't want to to ruin that twist. But they're not quite misinformed, the Teutons, in terms of what they're saying. But they don't know like the newer information about Sparrow. I guess that's a good way to put it. And then they're sorry. I told myself I wouldn't yawn, but I don't know. Something about just sitting still and talking just gets me going. Do a lot of running around, keeping kids off counters and, out of dog food. And actually, no, not so bad about that anymore. But, I'm following them around. I'm carrying 2 40-pound weights. It's tiring stuff. I'm pretty thankful I made this game years ago instead of trying to do it now, because it can be hard to do much. Even finding the time for these little sessions, and they're only like a half hour, can be challenging. Wonder if I can... Ooh, more money. We're getting rich. Wonder if I can make a thing yet. I could have sworn... Shit, where do you get that stupid chain? Does anybody remember? I tried buying it off Gino. You didn't get it from Marcella fight. You got the other thing. I don't know. Maybe it's in one of the old dungeons going back to? Ay. Can't remember. That's okay, though. Let's get out of here. And the carriage mechanic... Well, it's not really a mechanic in this game. But travel, like local travel between towns and Solus, is done primarily by carriage. I mean, there's boats, but of course... Pearlton's not a port city, so... If you took a boat, you'd have to, get down and take like a riverboat or something. So carriage is definitely ideal. And this is a bit inspired by the Light Magic games, where you could hop a carriage from just town to town, and that's an idea I want to do with Legacy too, with more freedom, of course. This is a scene I like pretty well, actually, where Finley just drops the bomb that he knows is Shroud and Stoic. I'm not an idiot. You think I can't recognize you just because you put that mask over your eyes? As for Bones, he's the angry skeleton. I know nobody could be Stoic. Besides, you guys are together all the time. There's a mountain of evidence if you think about it. He must die. Yeah, I guess so. Sorry, I'm just tempted to read that whole scene out loud because it's pretty fucking funny. I think we talked about if we remade this game, that reveal would be even earlier. Which, of course, would, probably make it funnier, I hope. So this is when Finley joins the team for good. And I think it helps in a lot of ways, plot-wise and... sorry. And gameplay-wise. I hate that I'm yawning. I'm like... It's like the third one in a row it's been like this. And if I could just get a good night's sleep... But gameplay-wise, having a third-party member kind of tips the scales more in your favor, because battles in this game can be crowded. It's a lot. It's not uncommon to be outnumbered by the amount of enemies, so it's always nice to have some extra firepower. And oh, okay. I want to tell you a funny story about this bit here. He says he's never seen Earth Mage move so fast, and this is where we introduce the concept of, magic affecting your body beyond just being able to, throw a rock at somebody, in Earth Magic's case. Now, the reason that's funny is that there was a demo that some kid put out a long time ago on one of the old RPG Maker forums. And you could tell from the screenshots and this like trailer that he made that it was like ripping off this game. And some fans of the game sort of jumped in there and like yelled at the kids, saying like, everybody knows this is Master of the Wind, you're not fooling anybody. And because it was like, there's a copy of this very arc actually. The first release of Arc 3 was unencrypted, which means that you can just go into the game and screw around and everything is right there for you. The maps, the art, the music. Well, the music's there anyway. But the rest of it is usually encrypted. So, and this is the Tootin' flashback. We'll talk about this, in a little while. I want to finish the story because I think I always found this kind of delightful. So you have this unencrypted Arc 3 out there, which meant that it'd be easy to sort of copy and paste portions of Master of the Wind, at least Arcs 1, 2, and 3, into another game. So you had these two guys chasing a vampire on maps that looked conspicuously similar to the Gallian Church, and except it was Cloud or Terra or something. No, it was okay. The name was Terra, but the sprite was Cloud, I think. So just very like, it's obviously like probably somebody's first game, to be honest, or an early project. And then if you watch the trailer, there was a scene of the heroes fighting a character who was, who's like Sparrow, who was supposed to be Sparrow. And the part that always cracks me up is the guy's like a water mage or something. And so they say, like, what? A water mage isn't supposed to be that fast, or something like that. And it's just like, earth magic making you heavy kind of makes sense, because it's, it's the earth. The earth moves slowly. So, but like water magic, why would water magic make you slow? The guy was just sort of copying my my kind of mystery building bits, and not really considering if they made much sense. And I just thought that was a riot. It's honestly it's flattering. Like, I think people expected me to be offended and be like, "You're stealing my work," but screw it. It was funny. I mean, look, we got loads of other people's music in here. Scripts and stuff. I mean, and we tried, we gave everybody credit, but we're all standing on somebody else's shoulders when you're talking about these amateur RPGs. I mean, it's very rare that they get done by just one person with no material that's been made by somebody else. That doesn't mean I want a bunch of Master of the Wind like fan remakes floating around there, although that'd be interesting to see. But I don't know. I couldn't really bring myself to be offended by that kid ripping off Sparrow. And when he got called out on it, they said, like, look, you've got this hooded mage whose identity is a mystery. I mean, it's obvious this is Sparrow. And then, the kid was like, yeah, well, he's not wearing a black hood. I don't see a black hooded earth mage, so it's obviously not Sparrow. Durr. So, I don't know. It was funny. But I think the poor kid got banned for plagiarism. Because you basically have to come down hard on that kind of stuff in a community like that, or else it's just going to be rampant. So this is the only part in this flashback here about Sod's time at the Tootin' Corps where you can walk around freely, and you just kind of get to meet all the Tootins pretty quick. And this is before Shadehorn joined, so he's not here. But you meet a bunch of other ones, like Grinfrak, who is a big ogre. And that's actually, Luna gave him that loincloth, because I just felt weird. Like, the original RTP sprite of the ogre was just, like, big and naked, and it was just kind of weird. And then, so actually her first her first version of that sprite was a loincloth, but it only had like one flap. So it just looked extremely phallic. And I was like, oh my god, this is worse than before. So I told her to fix that a little bit, and she added the 3 flaps, which, is better. And this scene with Sod and Morius. This is the first taste we get of Sod's backstory. He tells it very, quickly, without much detail. But you get the fundamentals, and what I was hoping it would do is set up interest for when the full backstory is revealed in Arc 6. So that was my intention there, and I think it worked well enough. Oh, sorry. Dropped something. Oh, dear. Lost my train of thought. Sorry, I'm just reading the scene. Yeah, so you learn about Sod's kind of humble beginnings, even though his family is pretty important for reasons that you learn later on. And, then Rain ran away, and the father was dead, and his mother kind of went cuckoo. And that's the Cliff Notes version. And Sod mentions that he didn't have a full education, got cut off pretty early, and which he had previously expressed surprise that Morius is old enough to remember the Gallian invasion of the Elven lands, despite his his persona is of a kind of a teenager, but in human years he's actually already would be considered old. But elves live for like 1,000 years in this game, so he's not very old at all by that measurement. And Sod's lack of an education is pretty important in terms of his character arc for this chapter, Arc 3. It explains why he gets kind of captivated by the monastery once he's there. Boy, this flashback goes on for a while. I better get used to it though. Once I get to Arc 5, I'm going to be sitting here like, so let's talk about the other Teutons. You got Pilk, who's my favorite. In fact, I use him as an avatar on some forums. Usually ones where I'm not known as Volrath, because Volrath is supposed to be the Shroud, which is confusing because Volrath is his own character. But it's just sort of how I've been rolling on the internet for years now. But I use Pilk's face for various other forums that I'm a member of. If anybody here happens to be on the Rock Band forums, which I think would be unlikely, but if you are, I post there as Plutarch. And I post not too often, but enough that people know who I am. And Pilk is like a super smart Luddite, and the way he speaks and the stuff he's interested in is all based on like my cinema classes that I took at New York University, especially the semiotic stuff. A lot of that is like word for word from my textbooks. I still have some of them. So that was just fun to do. And then of course Cinerix, the leader, who was somebody else's Warcraft character. I was saying in previous episodes that a lot of the Teutons are named after Warcraft characters. Like Morius was mine, and Douglas was my pet tiger. And Pilk is actually named after a pet dinosaur that I got. His full name was Mr. Pilkington, shortened to Pilk. And so Tyrande was somebody I knew on there. And Crom, I don't think, was based on anybody. It was just a name I came up with on the fly. Ceneric was, although I can't remember who. And so is Shader. Shader was my friend Rick's character. So, Ceneric is what TV tropes would call the proud warrior race guy, like almost down to a T. And you've seen that type before, just like, it's a lot of Native American characters are written like that. But in fantasy worlds, it tends to be like orcs, minotaurs, stuff like that. What I remind this bro got 8 word dis. And so Shroud's realizing his what he doesn't have in common with the Teutons, which is that he likes to rescue as many people as he can. But Ceneric's in it for the money. But Shroud's not much for the mercenary life. He really believes in doing the right thing just because it will, improve somebody's life or put more good in the world. And it's not always easy to find people like that. They do exist, though. I know a few. And politics is even rarer, but there's some out there. I actually think Bernie Sanders is like that. And that's not, I'm not trying to make endorsements here. I mean, the primary is over, but I think Bernie Sanders really does worry about people and what they're going through, and he doesn't really care if he gives the same speech every time, and is not very polite, or doesn't come off as very polite. He's just kind of a grouchy old man with a big heart, Hillary Clinton, who knows what she actually thinks, let's be honest. And of course Donald Trump is a dirtbag. So, that's the end of my commentary on the presidential election. I'll see you later, guys. I'll be here all week. Now we're getting into the story of how Sodom Bones met, which is never actually shown in the game, but this conversation kind of goes into it. And we really marketed this little 4 or 5 page comic about that incident where he buried Stoic thinking he was a dead body, only to find out rather dramatically that he isn't. And then of course there's the sweet animated short that Master of the Wind fan did, or no, I got C4D nerd. I gotta remember to keep calling him that because that's who he is on YouTube. So you can look that up if you're interested. Just put in Master of the Wind Kindred Spirits and it should pop up. And now we're here in Pearlton, yay. And this is a pretty different kind of town from where we've been. Small and, really rural, whereas Port Arianna, at least to me, feels like a small city. And but they go there only to find that everybody else is there. They're enemies. Kovac and Vec and that fairy going into people. God damn it. See, when you have people who only appear for a cutscene, you usually put them on, through mode, which means you can walk through them. You usually put them on through just so that when they're done with the cutscene and they disappear, you're not just walking into these invisible blocks of whatever. But, then you can have other characters walk through them in the meantime. If I were smart, I would have had them as, as solid during the cutscene and through after, but who knows? Who knows why I didn't do that? And now they're having this sort of economic discussion about taxes, which is sort of meant to be familiar to the kind of taxes that kind of tax discussions that we have. about how much the rich should pay and how much money should we be giving to, poor people with programs and infrastructure and all that shit. It's not meant to really take a position on those issues. I mean, I have positions on those issues if you want to ask me, but it was more just to make it feel a bit more like our world, to have them discuss the sort of mundane, real world thing. And so they mentioned that the small town dwarf who runs the Peralta Armor Shop wasn't going to sell because he's a dwarf. I think they talked to him in a little bit, and then they kind of have a laugh about that. Like any business with equipment, his reputation is going to be big with non-humans. All right, so let's walk a little bit, and then maybe we'll cut this one off early, just because Eagle Path is coming up, and I don't want to break that one up too much if I can help it. Alright, so this is normally the path that you would take to the monastery, but it's been blocked off because the guard base came under attack, and they suspect a fire elemental. Who could that be? If you play Clean Slate or watch the Let's Play, you might have an idea. So that's fun when that comes up. But in the meantime, they have to find another way to get to Pearlton, which is why they wind up going through the forest. But I think we're just about done here. So I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.